announce who you are and what you have on the agenda.
Okay, so this is the Easthampton Housing Partnership. Today is Tuesday, July 16th. It is 6:53 p.m. So we have some guests. Valley CDC is here, Joanne Campbell and Donna Cabana, to talk about first-time homebuyer programs.
Hi.
Take it away.
Do you want us to say who we are, Donna, because you don't know who we are?
Sure, that would be
I
great.
don't know everybody either. I'm Betty Burnham.
Ray Jernowski.
I'm Jackie Brousseau Pereira.
Check.
Nice to re-meet you.
Yes, it's been a while.
Alexis Shane.
Jim Valencourt.
Janet Tatro.
Kathy Kroll.
Jessica Allen, city planner.
Joanne Campbell.
Great. So we've put together a couple things today quickly, and this is brief information in regards to first-time home buyers. Basically, we're looking at folks at 80% or below area median income, and I only made 5 copies. I didn't expect this many people. So we've looked at pricing and we've looked at some houses in the area, and what we feel would be affordable. So basically we're looking at houses between around 175 to 235,000 in order for it to be affordable for somebody between 70 and 80% of area median income. So as you know, we've run some of these programs before for down payment assistance. So pretty much that's what we're here to talk to you about, maybe thinking about a program.
Does anyone need sort of a quick overview of sort of how these down payment programs work or what we do in our counseling sessions, or would that be helpful?
I don't, but
No, I don't.
No?
do you know how those work?
Okay.
Great. So, me and Joanne talked about it, and, there's a lot of different ways that you could do this. I mean, you could do help a couple individuals and have a longer-term subsidy, and maybe put some sort of restriction on the property for 10 years. That way you could count it as an affordable housing unit for a 10-year period, or you could do a smaller amount of down payment assistance. So, I mean, it's really something up for discussion, and how you feel you want to impact the family that we would be helping. Based on currently what we're doing in Northampton and Amherst, pretty much to find a couple individuals to give this money to that qualify by income, we have to see about 30 to 35 families in order to, I would say 2.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Because the income gap is, or the narrow band of people you're looking for.
Right, and then if you have an asset restriction and other things, then HUD went down on the income guidelines this year, which really did not help us at all.
So there's the asset piece, so if you want people you would like to have people who manage to score a little bit of money aside, so you have to count not pensions, but you've got to count 401k, 403b, and so it's not money they're really going to have access to. Of course, you can take that with penalty, but we're not talking about a regular bank account or CDs, you have to count those as well. But so you've come, someone is a $75,000 limit, so someone's going to have 150 and they're 50 years old. That's not much retirement, but they're not eligible under CDBG or home program. Now, CPA could be a little, when someone coming in with a $500,000 in assets, but if they have, you could eliminate retirement. And I said, we're not going to count retirement because that's a good thing to have. But
right. The way they're talking about Social Security and everything else, you hope people are saving. You hope people have this money.
Yeah.
And the way HUD looks at it, they have you take the lesser of the 2% of that asset, and the way it's calculated, if somebody's very close, if they make $45,000 and then they have $75,000 in their retirement account, they could potentially be over income.
right. So there's this very narrow band of folks.
Are you seeing a lot of people from Easthampton in your classes? I know you have them in Easthampton.
We are seeing, we have a lot of people, and there is a lot of requests. A lot of people call me. I'm like, I always say, geez, Joanne, we should be doing this in Easthampton. It's more affordable here, that's why.
People want to buy here.
If you're interested, we can get the numbers out of the classes.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter if they took the class and they live in Easthampton, they might be looking who knows where to buy.
Right,
So,
right.
I mean, when we bought our house in Easthampton, I was renting in Northampton, we bought here. So I think
Right.
there's a lot of people like that who.
Yeah. And, that's another thing to look at. I mean, you could say you want to serve residents first and foremost, so, 75%.
Well, they become residents as soon as they buy a house.
Right, right.
I'm also thinking about sort of the CPA, since it's a much more transparent process than, say, CDBG, where it's a smaller group of where it goes through. So, I'm just sort of thinking, what would be successful going through CPA for a first program? Would it be a smaller amount of money that might be less beneficial to the family, but might prove a program?
I think,
If it was limited only, since it's CPA, even though there are state dollars in there, people perceive it, I think, as it's Easthampton money because it's coming out of your tax dollars, whether that would be something that you would want to consider, or at least a preference for some 3 of the 4 or 1 of the 2, or...
I know my fiance and I want to look into that program.
down payment.
Yeah, first time home buyer stuff.
so,
I'll come in anytime.
Yeah.
Valley does a great class.
Yeah, we have class, then we do individual counseling.
Oh, good.
So, we do budget. and-
I did bring some information, some literature on the programs that we do offer
So,
for everybody.
we have down payment money for Amherst and Northampton. And to be honest, we're having a little trouble moving the money in Amherst because the prices are so expensive.
And the reduction in the HUD income, really, I've had several people come in that would like the money, they're at 80%, just below, but then you do the impeded asset thing, they have 75 in the retirement, and they're out.
so I have a couple, do you mind if I ask questions? So, I have a couple thoughts about this. One is that I would think that for the most part, CPA would want something to be deed restricted.
Yeah, that's the only.
Okay.
And for it to be a deed restriction, at least even for a 15-year deed restriction like we do with the rehab, you have to give them a pretty substantial down payment assistance
Or mortgage subsidy.
or mortgage subsidy. So it'd be helpful to sort of be able to spell all of that stuff out to the CPA committee. Like, we think at this amount, you could probably have a deed restriction for X number of years. And then you'd have, because they really, a lot of them, Alexis is chair, so I might, tell me if I'm speaking out of turn, but a lot of the folks who are on that committee really wanted to count on our, inventory.
Right.
So the other question I had is, are the rules around the CDBG down payment assistance with the having to count their retirement, if we want to count, say we want to count the unit on the inventory, do they have to follow those guidelines too? Or can we set them a little bit so that we don't have to count the 401k?
So I
That would be
think
my question.
it would have to be a local action unit, right? If it wants to count on the inventory. And then we would have to follow DHCD's rules with the 75,000.
So it's not simply that you have to have a deed restriction, it has to...
This would be something we can look into. I mean, it seems like we don't know the answer.
Yeah, these are the outstanding questions, so.
But
I think what Amherst, because Amherst had a mortgage subsidy with CPA.
Do they,
Well, we only
they
did it
might not
once.
care if it counts.
But no, they wanted it to count,
yeah.
but
Well,
this
'cause
is
they're
like
over
5 years
10%.
old, or 6, it was
Right.
2005. Right, if it's a local initiative unit, then if it's a LIP unit, it goes back to, because that's the same as the 40B.
Right.
And so we're doing 40B at Easthampton Meadows, and those folks are limited to 75,000 in assets?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And
So
it's
that-
added to the income,
And it's
the
added, if
asset
they
income.
have anything there, the interest is added to their income.
That's going to be a stumbling block. I just want to raise it
And
here.
the number of
Someplace
years.
friendly.
Because for rehab, it only has to be 15 years. But I think for everything else, it has to be 30. Which is a
Because
long
for
to
rehab,
get
you
a little
spend
bit of money.
$30,000 on a rehab, and we're not going to be able to make a case for that,
And so then also, kind of similar to the rehab, what happens if somebody sells within the 15 years of the deed
They're
restriction?
supposed to pay.
Are they going to pay it back? I mean, I know they do that with the rehab, but is this the same with the first time
I think
home buyer?
it
I mean,
could be that way.
Yeah. That's less of a problem. I think it's the term that would be a
Because we want
problem.
it to be usable.
15 years seems somewhat reasonable. 30 years seems very unreasonable. And why would somebody sign on for $30,000 or sort of...
Or, 4,500.
Well, then,
I mean, I think-
for a small amount of money, no, we wouldn't even come in and say, oh, for $5,000, we're going to agree with you that it's going to be 15 years. Like, you know what, we wouldn't bother to look at it.
No.
It's just not, it's not logical for somebody.
But I think we have less of a chance of selling that to CPA, frankly.
I don't know, I mean, it hasn't ever come up since I've been on CPA.
But everything that we've done,
Right, but it's a
hardship
different-
has counted.
But we've also, we have 3 new committee members. So
That's good.
I feel like,
It's a conversation we could have.
yeah, yeah.
We just want to make sure we can answer all those questions.
It would be good to know what Amherst is.
Theirs is like 8 years old, though. The CPA was, I think, right, didn't we? Because I was thinking, oh no, that down payment money was only a couple years ago, and Donna found out it's like 2005. But you know what we could do is, maybe by the end of the summer, is have me and our office do some research on the other down payment programs around the state that CPA. I mean, obviously some are not involved with having stuff on the inventory. They're just saying we have a program to provide assistance to.
And I think that we're supportive of that, for sure, but it depends on the temperature.
I can also, I mean, the CPA, whatever coalition, the statewide CPA coalition, has pretty, I mean, they have really good information on what other CPA
Well, that's what I would be
companies have
looking at,
done.
the same thing
Yeah,
as
I'm
calling
happy
them.
to like contact Stuart there and ask him to do a little digging.
Yeah, because there's quite a few that do it, but I don't think necessarily the county them on the inventory.
Right.
So, I mean, that's something that you as a committee could talk about, that you want to do this, but it's, and whether, how strongly they take recommendations for you that being on the inventory might be.
Like, we could do it like this, and here's what that would mean, and we could do it like this, and here are the pros and cons of that. We'd like to be able to do something.
Right, so figure out so we'll take a look at the lip, and it sounds like, you think it's 30 years, huh?
I think
Didn't
it's-
you think about that?
I think it's 30 years.
So you're thinking that
But
in
I
order
could be
to...
wrong, because it's local action, so, you know, the local action units are locally created units that weren't created through a 40B process, that have some type of restriction, but they have to follow the LIP guidelines. So I think that's where we would run into
Certainly,
more restrictions than we may want to deal with. But we should look into it and see. Maybe I'm wrong.
Just a question outside the box. Does the Federal Home Loan Bank still do their down payment program? You know, for the local banks?
to the banks, the equity builder, yes.
Basically the same 5-year?
Florence actually gave money out this year, 15,000. People's, 5 years. Yep,
And Florence used it with an adjustable rate mortgage,
the 5-1R.
which is not,
They have somebody new over there.
don't say too much.
No, I was just thinking it would help to talk about different models to kind of just
Yeah.
say, this is,
So what does,
banks do it this way because, and, you know, I think the intent kind of thing as opposed to by the book.
Alexis, does it make sense for us to go before the committee? Because when is the next deadline?
Well, the next
Totally, yeah.
decision, the next proposal decision is August, so it would need to be in by our meeting on Thursday.
Okay.
And
Which isn't going to happen.
no.
But
So the next
could
one
we
would be
go-
November.
Could we go
You
to
could
like the
talk.
September meeting and say, here's the stuff we're thinking about. We could support any number of these things. Here are the pros and cons. What feels like it makes sense?
We'd have to come up also with the right entity to make the proposal to CPA.
Right. That makes sense. Well, it would come from Valley, but with us saying, here's what we support.
Okay.
I mean, what I'm assuming that if come to some interest where you say, okay, we would be supportive of several types of options, then we would hear something with your blessing
Right.
to go before CPA when it was ready. So if there's work that needs to be done or research that needs to be done to say, okay, come with several options, 5,000 not on the inventory, how does that work versus 15,000 for now, for 30 years with $50,000, but it's now restricted and what kinds of programs are out there that fit that model. Has other groups done this? Is it what works, what doesn't work?
And the other thing that you already brought up is that you'll have to be able to show the need. So being able to talk about how many people have been going to the classes. in
Yeah,
Easthampton
we've also met
is
one-on-one with a lot of
really
residents of
important.
Easthampton as well.
I think one of the issues right now, just that Donna ran, what was on the market now for homes under 235, there's not a lot.
Not many.
Really low, yeah, really low inventory.
I was
Real low.
surprised, actually.
Because it
Yeah,
seems like.
and most of those condos we wouldn't recommend.
Houses that are very expensive.
This is my friend's house. She would love it if someone bought it. At 209, even at 209.
Right, and that's, that's the highest one
So there's
between
really-
Yeah.
120 and 135, 235.
So there's only 3 in the entire, all of Easthampton under 200,000 for single family homes?
No.
Well,
Yeah,
no, there's
yeah,
eight.
under
Yes.
200,000.
I'm looking at the condos. too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
That's
Right.
crazy.
Mhm.
It is.
That's really crazy.
And believe me, those are probably houses that need some work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you just do under 235? You didn't
I did
do
120 to 235.
And they need work, a lot of it.
Sure they
Yeah, I mean, 170 in East Hampton is a fixer-upper.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my mother calls me, there's a house for sale. I'm like, "Ma, I can't afford it."
So whether it's a blip, whether this is the way that there's very little inventory in the market, I mean, you hear that
Mm-hmm. There
sort of
is,
heating
and
up
I know
around
that's
the
where-
region, that
Yeah.
not a lot of housing and a lot of demand. So there's some
Right.
bidding wars and stuff, and
Yeah, it's gonna affect the
To
affordability.
where we were 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we're quite there, but.
No.
Not at least with pricing.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is, good time of year where people would have their property on the market.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've seen slow inventory for the last several months, so,
At that price range.
yeah.
I think that's.
I think, but no, I
If
think,
you have 350, you're
but even
golden.
like, any price range, that at least what I hear from the Boston area is that there's just nothing for sale. And as soon as something
worse
goes up,
there, I think.
people are paying like 50,000 over asking to be able to get it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's what started this whole
That's right.
crisis that we ended up in.
so, we've just marketed the 9 houses at Easthampton Meadows for Beacon, so those have gone well, but they're selling between 125 and 150. Brand new,
Right. Wow.
no condo fee, they're all,
One of them did make the list.
not one of the affordable ones,
Not
but one of the
affordable
market ones is on there, 224, they have a 2-bedroom, because they're doing, what, is it 23 market and 9 affordable, is something?
Yeah. Yep.
But there is one
Circle.
circle, so.
And those
but-
are energy efficient, right? They have all kinds of energy efficient.
2-bedroom, 2-full bath.
So.
But it is on the slab, there's no basement,
No basement.
because it's a high water table there.
Oh,
so-
yeah.
But the 9 homes, the last one, someone's closing tomorrow, and
Yeah,
then
someone's
there's,
closing tomorrow,
and then one-
2 next month.
and that's it.
That's
They're all-
it.
they're all sold.
Wow.
The affordables.
Yeah.
But that's
That's
great.
only we're responsible for.
That's great. I mean, that's good that they went quickly and,
Yep.
Yeah.
a lot of people.
Yeah, but the speed at which they went just indicates how desperately we need to have.
Well,
more.
yes, that's true. That's a good argument.
Yeah, I mean, as far as looking for, I mean, we are, at this point, we're not looking for land. We've, trying to get Parsons underway, and we have another deal in Northampton we're working on, so the state is supposed to open up around for home ownership.
Oh,
But
finally.
that's got to be someone who's already, already has identified a site and has probably done a whole bunch of pre-development work, and I don't know how many units, how much money's going to be. So I think in the short term, nothing's going to happen there. The best bet is Habitat taking care of, a number of the lots, Everett and East Street and a couple other. But it would be a way to try to keep some folks in town is to offer some down payment or mortgage subsidy to, and we have the same, I mean, I think Northampton inventory is, for Northampton, people tend to buy in the Rhine Road area.
Right.
Because
That's where they can afford to buy.
that's where they can afford to buy.
There's nice
So it's
ranch
not
houses
as-
over there around 225, 2 to 225. Amherst, there's like nothing. You're looking at a big old farmhouse at 235 that needs $100,000 rehab.
Yeah.
Yikes.
All right, so what would you like from us besides this is a great idea?
Well, it's Alexis, so we should just sort of make some, just so you're going to have a conversation with Stuart around what other, and if you want us to dig any deeper, we'll sort of do some more modeling on sort of what's at 5, what's at 15,000, what's at 30. I'll do some more.
What other people are doing.
I'll check out the LIP stuff because I'm pretty familiar with the 40B stuff on the homeownership because we've just gone through it with Easthampton Meadows. So I just sort of have to, and we were looking at LIP because we were working with the Hatfield CPA committee around a mortgage subsidy program for 55 and over. It got tabled at town meeting, so it got tabled because I don't think it had the votes. So they were looking, they wanted on the inventory as well. So.
Joanne?
Yep.
Off on a totally different subject, but before you go, do you want to announce what your board voted last week?
Oh, sure. So Jim Sullivan has been on Valley's board since 2005, and he was our longest-serving board member, and he, because of his illness, just resigned at the June board meeting. And we were sort of trying to think of something that would be nice to do for him, and Jackie made a wonderful suggestion to one of our other board members. And so the board confirmed, it's really not a vote because we don't really need to have a vote, but the board confirmed that it would like to name the Parsons Community Building after Jim Sullivan.
Oh, that's great.
So, so that was... So I haven't talked to Hap yet. Hap is our partner. I know it's on TV, but we do. I do have a Parsons meeting Thursday, so I will bring it up. But we just thought that would be
doing that.
Yeah. So when Jackie informed me that Jim was going into the hospital, I called her and said that maybe we should tell Jim ahead of time we were planning on a picnic. And we unfortunately had another board member that just passed away who also has had cancer, who wasn't expected to pass away, and sort of I just realized how quickly something could turn, and it would be sad if Jim didn't get to hear this.
Right.
So Jackie did get a chance to tell him.
You were touched. Yeah.
So
Nice.
That's great.
we should find out if he has a middle name.
It's a P, so it's probably Patrick.
Oh, I thought it was Paul.
Well,
Well, we can just.
I would guess it would be James Patrick Sullivan,
maybe.
but I could be wrong.
Just because he's Irish?
He does use JP.
Yeah.
He does use JP on his email address, so I thought that was very,
But we can find that out.
so.
Thanks for doing that.
I don't know, would you like an update on the Parsons?
Sure. Since you're here.
Since you're here.
So we hope to go out to bid in mid-August. We're still doing final, getting ready for final drawings. We're having a cost estimator look at it to make sure we're not way off base. Since it's been a while since we've had a cost estimator, and we probably would close by the end of the year. So just sort of, we have to get a real number on the bids, and then move forward from there, and then other things. So we actually went with Florida Savings Bank today, looking at construction and permanent financing, so we had a meeting with them today. We're meeting with MHP on Thursday, we're meeting with Easthampton Savings Bank on Friday, and then we're meeting with various investors. Tillman, our housing consultant, will arrange that. So just sort of have secondary preliminary conversations. We've already had them, but we really need a hard construction number before we can really go. So hopefully it would be in the ground by the winter, or at least the spring at the latest.
That's so exciting.
Great.
Yeah. I don't know what else with Easthampton. We do our workshops regularly.
Don't forget, I've left this stuff for you guys.
Well, and after our last meeting, I had said I would talk to Joanne about the one mortgage thing, and so do you want to fill them in on?
Right, so, and help me too. So there's the soft second loan that Mass Housing Partnership has had forever, and they are, it's going to be ending by the end of the year, and they have created a new mortgage product called the One Mortgage. And
To one loan.
it's one loan.
It's
instead of
basically
two
the same,
loans.
it'll still be
Right.
subsidized just up to 8 years, not 10. I mean, pretty much folks who are under 80% may qualify for a subsidy. You can still get the loan at 100% area median income. Still no PMI, it's still gonna be an affordability product that should help people, you know.
Great. It goes up to 100% AMI?
Yeah.
Right.
Wonderful.
In the whole state. So I think one of the things that MHP, and listening to lenders who might have given their feedback about the
Structure.
structure of it was sort of, with all the subprime and sort of 80-20, that somehow having two mortgages.
It's more complex and more paperwork. And the loan loss reserves, they've made a little betterment on that too, to try to entice the lenders to stay in. We've lost a couple, so we're trying to get them back in. And
So-
we've talked and met with a lot of people, and we're trying
So
to get
at this point, we don't have a local bank. Florence had been like the soft second lender, the tons and tons. And Country Bank came in probably 2005, and which is, out in Belchertown or where, so not a big market out here. But Florence has not signed on to the One. So
I
the
met
only
with them
banks-
earlier this week, and they said it wasn't out of the question, they might consider it, but it's not gonna happen this year, maybe in the beginning of next year.
They're waiting to see how it works out, probably.
Well, yeah, let's get the kinks out first, you never know. But they said they might limit it to like $3 million worth of loans annually, which some banks do, and they run out.
So the only banks that are doing the One at this point are Citizens, Sovereign, and BOA.
The big banks.
Merck isn't doing it? They did
No.
so many soft second.
They're this close to getting back in, I hear.
They haven't been in for years, but they service a lot of loans.
I just remember
from
when I was,
Second Shopping.
years ago. No, I mean, I
Oh, when you were working.
But when I was.
Oh, they were big, but they have not been big in the mortgage world for a long time.
Probably
TD
since around
Bank.
2008.
Not since Kathy and Maribel left.
There you go.
But they are considering coming back, they are considering coming back in.
And Citizens and B of A must have some sort of presence out here. a little bit,
Citizens.
yeah.
Oh, BOA's got an Amherst office.
BOA's
Yeah.
all over.
They're everywhere, yeah.
And
Citizens is in Holyoke,
Yeah.
right up near the mall there.
And Citizens is in Stop and Shop. I don't know how many people do banking in a bank, in a
Grocery store?
shopping center.
I used to when we first moved here because we had Citizens, but it was annoying to have to go to the grocery store to go to the ATM machine. So we switched to Easthampton Savings. Now, Easthampton Savings has a new president.
Yes. I got a letter in the mail.
I got one in the mail too.
And they also have a new, you should probably invite him to your meeting, a new community development specialist, who is Harry Montalvo, who used to work for Soluciones, CDC,
Nice.
in Holyoke. So,
Maybe we need to talk to them about
So I-
one mortgage.
so I didn't,
They never, Easthampton never did sub-second.
or mass housing.
They were very conservative in their lending.
So they're looking, what Harry said was they were potentially looking to expand into Holyoke. And Harry is of Latino descent, just sort of an interesting, so it sounds like they might want to do some stuff, so I gave him the drill on the One Mortgage and other kinds of things, mass housing, other things that they could do that...
That's great. Has
so-
potential.
Yeah, it has potential. I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive.
Well, this is an opportunity for them too, to,
So we're trying to get
Do a
some
lot
local
more
banks.
mortgages.
We do like to do local banks, not that we steer people, but it's also to have an option.
Right.
So people need to have servicing issues, discuss things later on, they're not calling someplace.
learned a lot
Right.
about servicing over the last decade.
I probably should say, and I have an agenda, but we have seen a lot of folks from Easthampton on foreclosure prevention counseling, a lot.
Yeah.
It had gotten to be, again, Hampshire County is nothing compared to Springfield.
Right.
But the more recently, in the past year, when we were applying for funding, Easthampton was one of the top 5 communities in Hampshire County, along with Ware, South
Huntington.
Hadley, Huntington, and Belchertown, with high numbers.
Right, you wouldn't think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's interesting.
Joanne, do you have a card?
I do.
And I see you have some things for the head
Yeah,
of
so,
the
and then we'll let you get on to your, so Valley CDC is doing, it's our annual fundraising event, and it's our 3rd year. And it's called the Pedal Poker Run, and you play poker, you choose cards along the bike path. It's not a race, it's a recreational activity. Jackie's been a volunteer.
Not a race.
It's not a race, it's not competitive, it's only 10 miles, and we're very seriously considering Easthampton this year.
Oh, good.
So,
Because I don't mind going out to Hadley to sit at the table, but, and Nina would like to volunteer as well.
okay, well, we'll get her a job.
My dog. She helps me.
She helped last year do something.
She has the past 2 years she's come and
Okay.
she plays the cards.
So we'll
It's first. She
Give that to you, so that you can call me.
I will. Do you have a
Yeah,
card?
that's pretty.
Oh, my number's on there. You know what? I forgot the cards. I got everything here. I got all our down payment and everything. No cards.
Yeah.
The class was really good.
Yeah, the classes are excellent. We get,
And it's usually in the senior rehab.
not because we do them, but because they get good evaluations.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else I want to say for? Affordable housing, housing guide for
Oh, you can say that if you want. That was Jessica's idea that you left, so I had to explain
Well,
it.
maybe I'll sit, you can,
Thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you very much. It was great meeting you all, and thank you for your time today.
Nice to see you, John.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. My son is on.
Leave these here. Somebody or something.
Yeah, we can put them in that public.
Well, Jessica's office.
It might be locked. But the desk is not. Well, we'll check.
We'll check, but.
Yeah, we'll find a place.
Community center.
Oh, great, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you. We'll see you later.
Okay. So I'll just skip to number 3 briefly because I don't have anything to tell you on it, and Jessica didn't have an update, but Elizabeth had sent an email to Jessica and I. They have been reviewing the Ty and Bond's brownfields report for Everett Street, and there's something that concerns them, but we don't know what it is. So
Oh, good.
she's been, trying to get more information, and I was hoping that maybe we knew more, but Jessica hasn't heard from her, so just as an FYI, that's going on.
Great.
Yeah. Fantastic. So hopefully it's something easy. So the other thing is about this how-to guide. So Jess had sent me an email about some things that have been, an idea that she had that she finds when she's meeting with sort of smaller scale developers in Easthampton. So her impression was that, because we don't have a ton of land, a lot of what she sees are sort of smaller developers building like 8 units or less. And, when she mentions the idea of affordable housing, they kind of look at her like, no, I don't know how to do that. Like, that's too complicated. I don't do that. So her idea was that if that maybe we could come up with some type of like resource, maybe not a guide necessarily, but like materials on, programs that are available, like the local action program through LIP, or some resources that may be available to them to try to entice them a little bit, but also show that it's maybe not that complicated. I personally feel like it is kind of complicated,
It's actually really complicated.
so I don't want to give you.
But here's where you can turn to for help.
Yeah, certainly like to do a tax credit property or something like that's way too complicated. But I do think in some markets, if you were doing, an 8-unit property, you could maybe make one of the units affordable. And your other 7 market units may offset the cost of your 1 unit, and that doesn't involve applying for funding and, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't know if we wanted to, consider that as one of our many, upcoming projects.
I have this vague memory that when I was on the Northampton Housing Partnership that we did something like that. So I actually when I saw the agenda, I started drafting an email to Peg Keller, and then I got distracted. But I think Peg might have something like that in Northampton, and I'll ask her.
Okay.
I mean, I know there's lots of like how-to guides for supportive affordable housing through like Corporation for Supportive Housing and Common Ground and Technical Assistance Collaborative. I'm sure there must be similar things, but I bet they're generalized like federally,
Yeah.
these are your federal resources, maybe down to the state level, but I doubt that there's anything more
Specific.
unless HAP has something.
That's true, HAP might have something. Yeah, that's a
You
good
just pull whatever resources you can and bring them all together.
Towns that have
Call it, they might distribute.
Or, you know, MHP might have an idea, other communities that
Or
have done.
CHAPA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the creation would be minimal. It's more the like,
Right, and that's what I said to
Yeah.
Jess. I think that it exists, we just, if we could like have something that she
Yeah.
could hand to them
Yeah.
and say like, well, here's an idea, have you considered this, and here's some examples, or, I mean, I know, you know, when the 40B stuff was really hot, like in 2007, 2008, there were a lot of, you know, some smaller scale projects that did just have like 1 or 2 affordable units, and those markets were not exactly Easthampton, but sometimes if you have 7 market rate condos and you have 1 affordable, you really don't need a whole lot of subsidy for that 1 affordable if your 7 market rate condos are priced at a point that
yeah,
kind of makes up
cover
the
it.
difference.
Yeah.
And I don't think that 1 affordable unit is necessarily that scary to a developer. You know, 8 is a different story, but.
Well, there's the marketing piece and how do you choose who buys it. There's all
Right.
of that
Right.
that you need to put together for
Together.
them. How do you do that?
All right, well, so, you know, maybe I'll just look around and see if I can find at least some ideas, and we could kind of take a look at that. People think that's kind of worth investigating.
Definitely.
Okay. So, I haven't done much on the Affordable Housing Trust. I was suggesting maybe we table till September, come back with a renewed energy.
Well, I have to say, I had a conversation with Melissa Zawadsky about
Oh,
it.
right.
And she,
Wasn't that?
and I wish I brought my
enthusiastic?
notes, but she wasn't that enthusiastic about it. She didn't see that it would make things necessarily any easier than the system that's in place right now. So I also think because there's an election coming up.
Maybe we
Yeah.
should wait until we
Yeah,
have a new
I think we
mayor.
talked about this a little bit, but yeah, waiting until.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Waiting to see how things go.
Mhm.
But she didn't seem particularly enthused about it. But I think, you know, sorry, we're kicking each other under the table. I think we could, I don't think she would be completely opposed to it. I think she just needs to know why it's a better idea than what we can do now.
Well, and I think, you know, doing our research, maybe talking, you know, I have that list of other affordable housing trusts to kind of talk to. And then I think if we kind of decide on our sort of framework for what our proposal would be, then that's what we could shop around once the election's over and sort of say, well, here's what we think it could look like.
Right.
And, you know, because I think without that sort of proposal, it's easier for people to say, oh, well, I don't think it'll make much difference, or,
Well,
oh, I don't
one of the things that she pointed out to me that I hadn't thought about was sort of the liability and the legality of a housing trust purchasing land and like who's responsible for it in the interim. So there are some things there are some legal things around that we would have to really think through and see if there's benefit to doing it or not.
Well, and I think Rita had said, I don't know if she said this to me privately or here, but you know, then you have to follow all the procurement
Exactly. Right.
laws, so because you're acting as a municipal body.
Right.
And so I think that right is a little bit complicated, and you know, so maybe, you know, the trust doesn't do that,
Right.
or I don't know, but
But those were the things
Yeah.
that she flagged as well, so.
I think the procurement thing is a big deal.
Ball of wax.
Yes. Yeah. So I wanted to share with you my emails with Jerry and Mike. Oh, maybe I should turn off. You think I should turn off? Does anyone else have any other business to discuss before I do that?
No.
No.
All right.
We can adjourn.
All right. It's an early meeting. 7:30 and we're going to adjourn.
It's hot.
It is hot.